and you are deciding that you want to come back, this is the process that you have to go through.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
you come from South America, Europe, America, Australia, this is the process that you have to go through. It'll be different from the process that a regular foreigner would be coming coming into, but this is the process. But so now
that's what it is. That's what it originally was, because before I moved, I researched the whole dual citizenship because I was super excited. Like, okay, I'm gonna get my little dual citizenship. And the stipulations at that time, which this is 10 years ago, just said if you are black, and you're believed to be of African descent, you are entitled to it. You didn't even have to really show whatever. And then the secondary stipulation was, if like me, your parents are Ghanaian or whatever, you're even more, entitled to, like, it's no question. But for Ghanaians who, like, because a lot of Ghanaians are born in Ghana and then they move to the US, so they end up denouncing what looks like their Ghanaian citizenship to obtain American citizenship at the time. Because that's the
denounce.
At that time you did.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I never knew that.
Yeah, because that's what you would do. You would basically take that Ghanaian passport, turn it in. Sorry, let me turn this phone off. That's what my mom had to do. She had to turn over her Ghanaian passport, get whatever to get US citizenship, and then you have to be sworn in. But Ghana is a dual citizenship country. So after she got her US citizenship, and I think the other part of it too was, back in the day, people were so scared to hold on to their country citizenship. They were afraid that the US would use that to not give them citizenship or attempt to deport them or whatever. So whatever they had to do, they did. So once she became a US citizen, then she went back to Ghana and did the dual citizenship process. But you born there, so really you shouldn't have to go through a dual citizenship process. Your first passport is Ghanaian. All you would really need to do is get the Ghanaian passport. So for a long time, she didn't have the Ghanaian passport. She had the American passport and a dual citizenship card.
Wow. I never knew that Ghanaians had to denounce their citizenship at one point.
And I mean, even like, I was just going through some of my uncle's citizenship papers, and I was looking through, and something asked like if he was illegal. I'm like, no, he couldn't have been illegal because he been here, 30 something years, whatever. And I'm going through the classification, and it's like, if you came before 1980 something and whatever, you were considered illegal, even though you were allowed to come into the country lawfully, because they changed the laws and they changed stipulations. So they might have classified you as this, but you didn't come in like walk through the border. There's no border for you to walk through from Ghana to the US. You flew in on a plane and they let you in on a plane. But if you are attempting to file and it's not processed within a certain time, and you stay even though it hasn't been processed, during that time you would then be classified as illegal, and then you have to go through whatever. So everybody has a different category on their green card, and it says different things. It has different stipulations, and then they comes with different rules. So back then, a lot of those people were just like, oh no, they didn't want to keep Ghanaian passports or to get Ghanaian passports because they were afraid it was going to negatively impact their American citizenship. And they're in that country working and maintaining pensions and Social Security and whatever else the case may be. So they made it a point to say Ghana is a dual citizenship country. And if you can show that you're Ghanaian by birth or by genetics, you're automatically entitled to the citizenship without question. And then it extended to Blacks of other nationalities, just being, if you believe you're of African origin, then you can also obtain Ghanaian citizenship. You just have to apply and go through the process. And so now it's become a thing where they feel like the process is too tedious, it's too long-winded, it's too whatever. It should be given to them just like this, just like that. And I said to people, I said, but you guys realize there are Ghanaians going to America trying to get American citizenship, and they're spending tens of thousands of dollars on applications that aren't guaranteed to be approved. Nobody is fighting on their behalf to say make it easier for them to go into a country that their ancestors also built.
Right.
So that they can go to school and they can get pensions and they can be paid and they can send that money back home. So you want people to advocate for you on that regard while you don't advocate for them in the same space. It don't work like that. It's got to be.
God, you just said something to me that it just clicked for me. You just said they have to go through a process to come to a country that their ancestors also built.
Yes, that's why I said before, I said when people are like, your ancestors sold my people, y'all realize that Ghana is behind because our strongest people, our smartest people, our most resilient people are the ones that were taken. Exactly. And y'all left behind the ones that was sipping and chilling. Like,
oh my God, you know what? I never even...
I mean, because at the end of the day, for you to survive the slave trade, for you not to be selfish, yes, you had to be strong, you had to be smart, and you had to be calculated, because everything wasn't a fight. Some of these fights they chose not to fight because it was the only way to keep going.
It wasn't worth it, right?
And I mean, during slave times, everything was a choice. You chose to either live or you chose to die. And there's so many times that I was like, I wouldn't have survived it, because the way
I probably would have just died.
Listen, I would have been like, so are we revolting at 3 or are we revolting at 3:05? Because we fighting today.
Okay, or are we jumping off this ship today or tomorrow?
No, and I'm so bad that I'm not jumping off the ship. Somebody coming with me. We all gonna die.
Okay, we all gonna die. You know what?
And there was no Kool-Aid to give. So you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, so when they said they gave the people of Cape Coast booze and chilling and whatever, I said it makes sense. They so lax, they so chill. And that underdeveloped us to a point where now we have nothing.
Well, and the thing is like this whole us them thing.
It's detrimental. It's so divisive. It's so divisive. And that's what they benefit off of that. Because there's a lot of people who would say, oh, I would never go to Africa. Them ain't my people and they sold me and they the reason why I did it. And that psyche keeps you from being able to build. You could go to Africa and find a way to start a business where you exporting from there and bringing it to America and still being in America and making money and improving your quality of life in America. But you so hung up on being hurt. That's why I said there's a space between letting it go and learning how to go from it, and not saying that means that it doesn't have to have, and not saying that it doesn't have to have an impact on you. Because if you, and I tell people sometimes, and I say this to people, you know, I said I have a degree in history. Black people, African people were migrating for centuries before
slavery.
And so I started telling people, I said, just because you don't know where you come from, everybody doesn't have to hold on to this concept of their ancestors were slaves. You don't know that your ancestor didn't migrate 200 years before slavery, migrated up in another country and whatever. And they like, yeah, but the odds. And I'm like, yeah, but some of you are letting those odds keep you from getting to a point of building an empire.
And not only that, but if we take away the whole, let's move the white people out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take the white people out, and let's think about, because there was one day I was on the beach at Crocobite,
mm-hmm.
and I was going to get me some fish, and we were standing around, we're talking to this fisherman,
mm-hmm.
and just so thankfully he spoke English. And good enough to actually really understand. So I asked him, I was like, so how do y'all go way out there to fish in this little bitty canoe? How do you get back? Like, how do you know the spot? Like, y'all
mm-hmm.
go over to Nigeria, you go all the way up to, y'all do all of this riding about in these canoes, fishing, and you come back to this spot. How do you get back? And he's like, it's hard to explain. It's kind of ancestral.
Yep.
He's like,
100%.
We just kind of know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. I said, so just humor me a little bit. I've heard that there's a current that'll take you all the way into the Americas. And he's like, yeah, it is. He's like, the problem is now we have all of these international waters things and all of this where you can't move about like that. He's like, I could literally get on my canoe and ride the current. I don't even need a motor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, really? He's like, we were traveling long before.
That's what I've said that to so many people. So I've seen in some of the other groups where they say, no, they're not descendants of slaves, and that's what they're attributing it to, but they don't explain it well. So it goes over kind of like the Akon thing where it automatically comes, you don't know your culture, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, I get what they're trying to say. And I think that's also true. Like, everybody could be right in this. It depends on how you're going to let that perspective lead you to where you need to be in your overall life, you know. And there are some people, I definitely say, in America who are stigmatized by being considered descendants of slaves, and they let it keep them in this setting where they can't really evolve. They can't really come out of it. They live in fear, you know, they killing themselves within the bad neighborhoods. They killing their brothers and sisters because they in this space where they're letting the white people feel like, oh, you guys were slaves and it was so many of y'all and y'all couldn't get together and fight and resist, and y'all still can't get together now. And that's why I'm like, when I see things that show Black people, African people revolting and fighting and running to freedom and building empires and doing great things, I'm like, yeah, because that's what I know to be true. You know what I'm saying?
And see, for more on this video, please click the link in the description below. Thank you.